Hey guys, welcome to the Red Vault. This is Tolga sir. Today we will talk about hybrid guitar rigs for recording and rehearsing purposes. Before the video, I hope you like my new purple light. You know, it will directly affect the sound. Also, I borrowed my brother's phone for different angles just for you. I hope this will make you subscribe. Today we will talk about my hybrid guitar rig, which includes a Mooer Ge300 with a Mooer Baby Bomb power amp. Directly goes to my Marshall MG412 Cabinet. Also recorded by Focusrite 18i20 audio interface with my Mac computer and Yamaha HS7 reference monitors. But before investigating this guitar rig, I want to talk about my needs and the aim of this rig. I can summarize it with three titles, which are recording, rehearsing, and jamming. Let's talk about jamming. I think it's the most common activity for all the guitar players out there, and for me it's the time when I need to feel what I play. Because of this reason, even the 1x12 cabinets still beat the reference monitors, because I want to feel the air that comes from the cabinet, that pushed by the cabinet. I want to feel the rumbling, the resonance beneath my feet. Because of this reason, the cabinets beat all the best plugins in a 5 or 7 or 8-inch reference monitors. And you know, if it was my only purpose, my only need, like lots of guitar players out there, I would totally go for a block letter 5150 and a Mesa 4x12 cabinet loaded V30s. But I will explain my other requirements, and you will see even these two items would cost much more but fix much less than I already made. Let's continue with another section. It's rehearsals. I know it's really similar to rehearsing, but in here, when we are rehearsing as a band, we are using in-ear monitors on a click track, and a plugin can be a solution. But do you remember what I mentioned before? I really want to feel what I play, the rumbling. Because of that, I have to use this rig while I'm using my in-ear monitors. And I want to talk about recording before start to explain the guitar rig that solves all. About recording, all I need is a simple, clean DI. And for this, I'm using my audio interface, only using my Scarlett 18i20. Then later I'm reamping my guitar tracks, but the time that I spent for recording the demo tracks is maybe 50 times more than the recording actual tracks. And I have to fix some issues when I'm doing it. Like how it sounds, how it feels, making minor adjustments like this fret or that fret. And you can't get this feeling from reference monitors. And when I find the best, I have to hit the record button immediately, because plugging this, unplugging that, it all kills the mojo. So how I fix everything at once? Let's talk again about the equipments, and then later we will talk about the connections. First of all, we got a Mooer Ge300, as I mentioned before. If you say, I won't play a processor, I want an old tube amp, just be patient please, we'll get there, we'll talk about it. Also, we got a Mooer Baby Bomb solid state power amp, which you can't see because I stick the power amp behind the cabinet. And also there is Marshall MG412 Cabinet is here. About these selections, let's start with amplifiers versus processors. I think the main reason that people go with the old tube amplifiers is the response of the amplifier to the playing. You can get slight differences, you can feel the differences between different hits, but this effect, this thing comes from the power amp stage. I won't talk about details, about technical information, because I'm not qualified enough, but I can say this thing occurs at the power amp stage. So using the preamps of a decent processor with an old tube power amp will unlock you lots of different amplifiers, unlock you lots of different tones. Also using an old tube amp as a slave with its FX loop is also fine. For me, I don't want to spend too much for the power amp and the cabinet. Then I went with a solid state power amp and a quite cheap cabinet. Besides the tube amp feeling, cabinets are a definer for the sound too, but you can always use a post EQ on the processor to adjust the sound that comes out from the cabinet. For me, there's a global EQ feature on my Mooer Ge300, which I can select the output. For example, my MG412 cabinet is a fizzy cabinet. There's too much high end in the sound. So I put an EQ to adjust the levels of 400 Hz and 4 kHz with the global EQ feature, and I put this EQ on the TR output, main output, which goes to my cabinet after the power amp, but my XLR sound is not affected from this touch. So I have a full stack in here with lots of amplifiers, lots of available amplifiers. I can always change the tubes in the Ge300's power amp section. I can adjust the tone that comes out from the cabinet by a post EQ. And you know, there's not a one size fits all solution for the cabinets. So with this rig, we solved the jamming section, and just a few cables we will solve rehearsal and recording too. Since the cabinet section of Ge300 is deactivated to use it with a cabinet, I need an IR loader. For this, I'm connecting the XLR output of the Ge100 to the audio interface and using the 14 Kali Neural DSP plugin. Sometimes I try the impulse responses of different brands, but the plugin's cabinet section work flawlessly most of the time. Some of the Ge300 users might get excited when I'm suggesting this solution for the cabinet issue. I'm aware of the FX loop, but we will use this feature for a different purpose. Now when I'm rehearsing, I have Ge300 with IR loader on my ear and the cabinet in front of me. Both work flawlessly, all adjustable and offer lots of combinations. Actually, we are done at this point. We have a processor that offers lots of different amp. We have a transparent power amp and a cabinet that works just fine. But if you seek a tube amp feeling, there's lots of options in the market. Also, you can go nuts with the cabinets too. So it's available to transfer the signal right to the DAW if you hit the record button when you play. But I want to keep the DI when I record a demo, because a riff can sound good or bad with different styles of amplifiers. So lots of times after being done with the recording process, I'm trying out riffs again with different style of amps with plugins, while there are drum, bass and vocals. So if I connect my Ge300 with only an XLR to my interface, I would get the process sound. But there's a trick. As I mentioned before, there's a FX loop in this device, and you can adjust the send and return points in the signal chain. So if I put my FX loop right before everything, I can get the clean DI from its FX loop. So there are actually three signals coming out from the Ge300. A process sound that goes to the cabinet with extra touch to fine-tune the sound. A process sound that goes to the audio interface from the XLR to play it with an IR loader. And there's a third line, third signal, which is DI, which is a clean track that I'm muting, but I record in parallel with the process signal from the XLR. At the end of the day, I can jam with different amplifiers. I have the advantage of the in-ear monitoring while feeling the cabinet sound. Also, I have all the signals that I need for recording and producing. And all of them cost much less than an all-tube amplifier and a 4x12 cabinet. Let's wrap it up. I think there are lots of other ways to achieve this, but I stopped searching, I stopped noodling when I solve all my problems with this configuration. Still, don't forget to share your suggestions in the comments. Also, I'm aware of that there are lots of debatable stuff in this video too. Don't forget to share your opinions about those stuff. But just a simple request, please decide before reacting. Is it technically wrong, or is it sounds just not like your taste? Because we already know tube amps are superior to everything, the mankind, the humanity, we got it. Besides that, I'm also aware it's kind of complicated configuration for an uncommon need, but I hope even a section of this configuration can be helpful to you, or maybe light a bulb in your head for your different problem. Don't forget to share and subscribe. Until then, see ya.